In this video, I'm going to show you how to add a collapsible toolbar to a map created using ipyleaflet. So this video is going to build on top of the things that we introduced in the last two videos, how to create interactive widget and how to add events to the widget. So first, let's go to the website to download the notebook example we are going to use in this video. Go to geodemo.geospatial.org. And then on the left here, click notebooks, scroll down to find toolbar, and once you click the toolbar, you should see the notebook. So you can click here the download icon to download this notebook to your computer. I'm going to download to my downloads folder. If you want, you can scroll down to the end here. This animation shows you what we are trying to achieve. So basically we are trying to add a toolbar, and this toolbar is collapsible, so you can basically click and then it will show you some of the tools. You can also close, and this one is not only applicable to ipyleaflet. You can create toolbar like this for any kind of application, but it's not limited to ipyleaflet. Okay, so just let you know. Once you download the notebook example, then you can open Anaconda prompt or with your Windows terminal, right click, and then you can activate the Conda environment. Conda activate demo. So this is the Conda environment that we have been using. Then type Jupyter notebook, hit enter. You should see the Jupyter notebook open within your browser. Then we can start going through the source code. So just click. You should open Jupyter notebook. And so this is we have a couple of sections here. I'm going to walk through the whole procedure step by step, how you can create the widget, create the toolbar, and how you can link the toolbar so that you can have some action. So whenever the user click the toolbar, click a button, it's going to execute something. And so next, let's go through the source code. You can, for example, import the library. Before I go into the detail, maybe let me show you some of the things like what kind of application you can use with this. So for example, my package, the developer is called Gmap, and I can, for example, create an interactive map using the Gmap package. Then I can show you some of the tools that I develop. You can, this is just a simple video, so we won't get into very complicated one, but just show you something like this. So it'll be very similar. For example, if I hover my mouse over this icon, you should be able to see like the toolbar is being shown. You can also click, right, and then the toolbar will stay here on top. You can also click the layers toolbar, and from here you can, for example, turn the layer on and off. You can also drag the layer opacity. So this is something that you can do using ipyWidget. And here we have a lot of buttons in here. Every button has some unique applications. For example, if I click this globe icon, this one is used to create, for example, time-lapse animation. You're welcome to explore if you want. So, but this video will show you some basics. Once you know the whole procedure, you can develop something very similar to the one that I developed in here. If you're interested in learning more, you can look at the source code of the Gmap package, and there are tons of examples that I provide in the gmap.org website, so you're welcome to explore there. Okay, so next, let's go through here some simple example how we can create a toolbar. So essentially, the toolbar, we're going to have two buttons. Okay, so the by default is only showing this icon in here, this button, and when you click or when you hover your mouse, it's going to show some of the tools that are within this toolbar. So first, we need to have this toolbar icon, but we can also have an additional one. For example, an optional icon that you can actually close the toolbar. So if the user does not need the toolbar anymore, it can be closed. So this is what this code block here is about. We need to create a toolbar button. So this is the first one here. This one is a toggle button. Keep that in mind, right? If there's just a regular toolbar, when you click, you cannot click. You just click and then you execute. But for a toggle button, it actually has a state. State means that whether it's selected or not selected. So if it's selected, it's going to show you something. If it's unselected, then it's going to hide the toolbar. So this one is it's called a toggle button. It's different from the button. And similarly here, the second one is also a toggle button, but this one can also be a regular button. So, but just to keep it consistent, I use both of them as toggle button. And then, so by default, the value is false. That means it's not click. You can also have, for example, the tooltip and also the icon. If you want to, let me just execute this one here to show you what it looks like, right? So if I have this to execute these two code blocks, now we have the toolbar. So the toolbar here has two icons. So right now it doesn't do anything because we haven't add the toolbar event to this toolbar yet. But just so that you know, you can set, for example, the width, how the width of the entire toolbar. We also set the padding. So the padding is necessary because otherwise the icon might not be aligned to the center. So, and also you can change the width and height. So this button, we don't need to have a description because we just want to have an icon. If you want to see what kind of icon you can choose from, you can maybe go down. I think I put the link somewhere there. Okay, so here you can click to go to this website, fontawesome.com, and version 4.7. So keep it in mind, the latest version might not be supported yet. So you can select anything from here, from the list. And so these are all the icons you can use. So the first one here, we actually use the icon called range, right? So if you can select here, if you just do a quick search, RENCH, right? So this, you just need to find out the name for that icon. Then you can just change the name to whatever toolbar icon you like. Then you should be able to have that icon. Let me just close this one here. So the first two, the second one is a close icon. So the close button, we use the icon times. So times basically is just red cross. And so now we have two buttons. Then we can use a horizontal box to put these two together. But for now, because it's just one, we haven't put two yet. Next, we can add some events. So what we want to do is that when the user click this icon, it's going to show you the entire toolbar, right? But what we need to do is to define a function. So we already introduced this in the last video, how to create interactive widget with Jupyter Notebook. So what we need to do is to define a function, and then within the function, if change new, that means if the user select the button, then it's going to change the toolbar chosen. So basically this horizontal box to add basically show these two buttons. If the user unselect and click, then it's going to just show you just one button. And you also need to have the toolbar, the button observe. So observe, basically we are watching this button. So if the user click, it's going to show you two buttons. If the user click again, unselect this icon, this two button, is going to show you the two buttons. So if I, for example, if I execute this one, now if I come back to here, click this one, you will see, right, we have two buttons, right? So you can select. If you click this one, it doesn't do anything yet. Similarly, we need to observe this button. So we can also add a function, for example, define a function close click. So if the user click this one, it's going to close the button. So we close everything. If you basically the user click the close to, it's going to destroy this widget. So if you want to destroy, that means we need to destroy the horizontal box. We also need to destroy the individual buttons within this widget, right? So in total we have 3. Then you can close them all together, and after that the widget will be gone. So right now, right, if I execute, I show this one again. Keep in mind, everything here shows you behind the scene, they all share the same thing. So if I close this one will also be closed. So pay attention, right? If I click, it will be shown. Click, and if I hit close, they will all be gone because behind the scene is only one instance. The one shown in the notebook is just a view of the widget. So I want you to keep it in mind. Okay, so once we have this, let me just show you one more time. Let me execute, and you should be able to see the result, right? So click, and this is the basics. And you can see this one is the toolbar header, but we haven't added the tools yet. So the next step is to add the tools are just like showing here. When you click, you show these two, but we also want to add, for example, 4 buttons to the list. And this is what we're going to do here in the next step, is to add a toolbar grid here we have, you can set the number of rows and columns, so 2 by 2, but you're welcome to add as many rows and columns as you want. It's not limited to 2 by 2. You can have like 3 by 3, 10 by 2, whatever. Depends on how many tools you want to have to show on the toolbar. In this case, we're going to use the one called grid spec layout. So this is one of the class within the widget ipyWidget. So you can just set widget.grid layout, and you pass in the number of rows and columns you need. Also, we set the grid gap to 0. Otherwise, you might have a wider gap, and we don't really need the gap. So 0 pixel, that means all the toolbar buttons are going to align together. And also, we're going to set, for example, the width, the toolbar width to 62. You can adjust this number. For example, if you want to have 3 columns, then the width might be to be higher. This one, it needs kind of a trial and error because earlier when we set the button, right? So if, for example, it's the width is 28, so you have 2 buttons, you're supposed to have 56. But because some of the margin, sometimes 56, you want to it's not perfect, so you might need to increase slightly so that the grid can be let me just show you, you will know what I'm saying. So for example, after execute this one, right, so you have 4 buttons. If I change this one to a smaller one, for example 60, let me execute again, you might see like kind of a scroll bar here. That means the width is not large enough. So if you want to get rid of this one, you need to increase. So you can try, for example, 61, 62, and until somewhere that you take toolbar, that the scroll bar is gone. So this is kind of minimum number you need to have. And so 62 is a good number. We create a 2 by 2, but in order to have this kind of icon, we also need to assign the icon. So once you create the grid layout, then you can have a loop. So here we have 2 loops by row and by column. So what we are trying to do here is that we're going to go through these 4 buttons, and we're going to assign an icon to each of the 2. So what we need to do here for I in range number of rows, so right, 2 by 2. So, and the first one will be 0 and 0. So when we also create a button, right? So 2 by 2, we're going to create a button, and then the description would be just none because we don't need to see the text. And also you can change the button style to primary. The primary basically blue color in here. You can change to other if you want. Then very important here is to find the icon. So we have 4 icons in here, right? So from 0, 1, 2, 3. So what we need to do is basically figure out when you are doing the looping, what's the index of the icon that we need to get, right? So if the I is 0 and then J is also 0, that means it will be icon I multiplied by number of rows. So rows is 2 plus J, it will be still 0, right? So basically 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it is going to get from here. That's why we can get the icon. And similarly, we also set the layout, the width to be 28 pixels, and also the padding to be 0. And we end up with this one. So now you can click, for example. But this is a button, so different from this one here. When you click, you can hide and show. You can have true and false. For the button, it doesn't. So when you click, it executes something, and it doesn't turn to dark blue. It doesn't stay there. So when you click, you will see a dark blue. But when you release, it's gone. So this is a regular button, different from a toggle button. Just to be aware. Next, what we can do is to actually link this one to the toolbar header. So in this case, we will need a vertical box, right? So earlier we use a horizontal box. When you click, right, it's everything like aligned on the same line. So that one is horizontal box. But in order to show the tools beneath this tool icon, then we need to have a vertical box. So the vertical box, by default, it just has 1 chosen. So only the toolbar button, just 1. When the user click, for example, when the user click the toolbar icon, we want to show this one, but we also want to show the 4 buttons beneath that. So what we can do is to define a function. So toolbar click, and if the user click, then the chosen is going to be have 2 components. Okay, so the first component is a horizontal box. So this horizontal box is the one that we used earlier, right? We have 2. but we also add the grid. So the grid is this one we added just a moment ago. Then if the user unselect, it will just show you this button. So this is exactly what we need to do. And then you observe this toolbar button. So, and then when the user click, let me execute this. Okay, so now we have this one. As you can see, if you click this button, now it's gone. So we need to redo it, because once it's being closed, it's gone. So what you need to do, maybe you can click here and then just save, run all above. Then we should have this one again. You click, right? Don't click this one. Sometimes accidentally if you close, it's gone. So you click this one, it's hide the button, right? So this is what this event is about. When the user click, it's going to show you the vertical box. So the vertical box has two components. The first one here is the header, these two items, and this is the grid. So we have two components exactly from here. When the user unselect, it's just going to show you just one button. This is nice how you can hide and show the button. If you don't need it, you can close. So this is the second one that we create this collapsible toolbar. Then next we can add this one to the map, although it doesn't really do anything yet, but this is just give you some idea how you can design something like this. So we're going to add this one to ipyleaflet. What you can do in ipyleaflet, if you want to add something, you need to have a so-called widget control. If you go back earlier to the first one here, we import the widget control class. Right, so make sure you import this one, otherwise you won't be able to execute the source code. So for the widget control, there are two arguments that you need to pass in. The first one here is the widget. So everything we did earlier is a widget. Then you also need to define the position. Where do you want to put the widget? Once you have the widget control defined, then you can add this one to the map. So in this example, we're going to use here the geo demo. Okay, so this is the package that we have been working on for the entire tutorial series. Once you have the basic package, then you can use the add control. So the add control, for the control, it comes from the widget control. So it needs to be you need to have the widget, you need to define the position, then you have the widget control, and then you can add the control to the map. As simple as that. So once you click, right, you see you have this one. It's automatically being shown, because earlier when we click, keep in mind, right, pay attention. If I click this one to hide the toolbar, it will be also hiding here. So right, so this is nice because they are all linked. It's just one instance behind the scene. So if I click, you'll be shown, right? So if I click, and this is exactly how you can create a toolbar in ipyleaflet, or add to some other application, whatever application you want to use, right? So pretty nice. You can click close if you want. If you click close, you'll be gone, right? So all at once. Again, let me run over to bring this toolbar back. Right now we have 4 buttons, but the buttons do not do anything yet because we haven't added any events to the buttons. So next, let's do some like simple things that we can execute. When the user clicks something, then you can execute some of the commands. So what we need to do, similarly, we need to define a function to observe this button. So what we want to do is that we can have an output widget. So we define an output widget. Similarly, once we have the widget, we can define a widget control and then add it to the map. So in this example, we add one to the bottom right in here. But because the output widget, it needs to have something to show. Either you use a print function or you use a display widget for this one. For now, it's empty, so you don't see anything here. And next, what we want to do is to define the function. So the function is like to click. So when the user click a tool, it's going to do something, print out something to the output widget. So first, we're going to clear the output widget. If it already have some content, it's going to be clear. Then it's going to show that, okay, F basically is a F format, it's a Python format. So within there, it's going to show you, you click the button. So B dot icon, keep in mind, B dot icon is the button. So what button? The button has an icon property. So the icon comes from the one that we use in here, right? So we have 4 icons, and it's going to basically indicate which button was clicked by the user. Right? So once you execute this one, we have this function, and this function need to be tied to the button. So similarly, we need to go back to here to go to the loop, because we have a 2 grid, right? We have 2 by 2, and what we need to do is actually go into the loop. And so this one here, I and j, right, 0 0 0 1 1 0 and then 1 1. So we have 4 tools in here. So each time when it's doing looping, we're going to use the so-called onClick function. So onClick is used to observe a button. If this is onClick just for button. Everything else, all other widget use the observe. So the observe function is the one like something like this. So very different. These two you need to pay attention. And once you observe, then we can come back to here to see this one. Okay, so you can click. It's going to show you. Now if I click the button, pay attention to the lower right corner. It's going to show you, okay, you click the folder open button. Right? If you click the map, click the in folder, and also click the question. So this is how you can actually type a specific event or some actions to a button or a widget, and then you execute something behind the scene. Once you get the result, you can show the result directly in here. This is a simple example. So in the next video, I'm going to show you some real application. For example, you can when the user click the open button, it's going to open maybe a file browser, and then the file you can the user can select a file, for example GeoJSON or a swap file on your computer, and then it can be displayed on the map. So that one you can type to some real world application, but for now, just to show you the entire procedure, how you can create the interactive widget, and then you can add the widget to the map. Also, each widget can have some specific actions so to interact with the user, and so you can click here, you can hide, you can have as many as you want. This is a simple application. There are tons of things you can do. Again, I can show you here, for example, the the Gmap, and let me show you some of the more complicated one that you can do. For example, when the user click, and I also have some of the toolbox, right? So this is the button. So when the user click this one, it's going to because this is the first time that I'm running this one, so it might take a couple of seconds. So once this one, okay, so it's done. As you can see, this one is also a widget, right? So on the widget here, you have kind of selection. You can select from the list, and it's going on the right here, shows you all kind of tools. This is basically a toolbox. So in its tool set, it's going to have a list of tools, and on the right here shows you the parameter, right? So this one has right now 447 tools from the white box package, and if you can select any tool you like, right? But right here, you can just click select this one. It's going to show you here, for example, this file browser, and then you can navigate the file, look at the file, and then you can select the file you want. You can also set the output, and then you can click here the button to execute. You can also click, for example, the view code. It's going to take you to the website to look at the source code. So this is something that you can do basically, but you need to know the basics about how to develop the GUI, and then how to type your specific actions to that button. And after that, you should be able to do that for any other application you like. Okay, so that's all for this video. I hope you find it useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.